Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss The Last Voyage of the Demeter, starring Corey Hawkins, Aisling Franciosi, Liam Cunningham, and David Dasmalchian, directed by Andre Overdahl. Now, I went to theaters for this thing last year, and what did I think of it? It's the same as I'm about to think now. Let's get into the movie and you'll see what I mean. It's August in the year 1897 as we take place on a ship called the Demeter as it crashes in Whitby, England, and they read a note which sounds menacing, but the opening scene was absolutely dreadful. And we move on a month before they crash into Whitby in Varna, Bulgaria, to pick up cargo for transportation to London as we meet Clemens, played by Corey Hawkins, getting in line for work as he gets chosen by Captain Elliot, played by Liam Cunningham, whom I reviewed a couple of times in the remake of Clash of the Titans and Steven Spielberg's Warhorse, but he's well known for Game of Thrones, which I can't get into that show, as he has a son named Toby, who has joined him on the mission for his entire life, as one of the guys sees a dragon code and drops it and almost kills Toby, but Clemens saves his life. And this is so far pretty damn dreadful, as this is the first 10 minutes and I already know I'm having a bad time with the movie at this point. The Demeter takes off on the sea with something heavy as it gets on the ship, and Toby gives Clemens a tour as he meets Huckleberry the doggy, as well as Toby's crew, which happens to be animals. And nighttime comes as Captain Elliot says to Wojciech, played by David Dasmalchian, that this will be the last mission for him and Toby, as he wants to live in Ireland, and the dialogue isn't working for me either, while we meet other crewmates, Abrams, Joseph, Algarin, Larson, Petrovsky, and Petrovsky, excuse me. And I'm not going to remember their names, because do I like any of the characters? Honestly, I hate every single one of them, except for Toby and the doggy Huckleberry. But he'll get killed later in the movie, and that's when the movie gets very alienating for me, as well as killing young Toby later in the movie. Clemens finds a woman named Anna, I don't know how you say her name, played by Aisling Franciosi? I don't know if I said that right, please forgive me. And Clemens wants to give her some blood, and so she can love one more in the box they took with them, which happens to be Dracula, aka Nosferatu, in which the audience, and I was confused by what to call it at this point, which the audience won't find out till the end at some points, and that's part of the reason I included this in this retrospective series, while Toby watches Clemens, telling Toby to look after Anna, while he drives the ship, and a crewmate will see Dracula is nearby, but it doesn't name him, which I guess is okay. This is supposed to be scary, but to be honest, I wasn't scared whatsoever, but I was mostly kind of bored with it, as this feels like a drag. Huckleberry the doggy hears something that must be Dracula and gets killed, and at this point I'm angry with this movie by not only killing an innocent doggy, but all the animals. In Captain Elliot, Clemens and the crewmates talk about what did these heinous crimes, and the crewmates come off very unlikable, while next day comes and Toby is very sad for Huckleberry's death because he was supposed to look after the dog, as he feels guilty, and the acting is pretty bad in this while they continue working on the ship, and the cinematography is ugly, as this is an ugly looking movie, while Toby and Clemens hear the wounded woman's name is Anna, and do I give a shit? Not at all. One of the crewmates gets killed by Dracula by slicing his fucking throat, and he had to start with the animals and then the humans. If I were a vampire, I would get to the humans first, and if everybody else dies, then get the animals afterhand. But I'm not one for killing animals, except for the dangerous kinds like lions, tigers, bears, mountain lions, and motherfucking coyotes, as they're all so motherfucking evil. As the next day comes, Clemens feels threatened, and Anna comes out and tells everyone in the crew Dracula's on the ship and they need to get off the ship. And if it were me, I would jump into the water right away, as that would scare the shit out of me. But the crew doesn't listen, and Anna tells Clemens she was sent to feed as she was sent by Dracula, And a couple of crewmates is killed by one. A couple of the crewmates are killed. One by his head smashed, and other by witnessing it off screen. Well, actually, he turns into a vampire later in the movie. And again, I don't give a shit about these characters. Clemens and Anna and the crewmates that remain alive realize slowly but surely that people are getting killed one by one as they look for Dracula, but unfortunately can't find him anywhere, as Captain Elliot tells Toby to hide and lock the door in the captain's office, and one of the dead crewmates turns into a vampire and attacks Toby as he tries to kill the boy, but isn't successful, and at this point, I'm angered by this movie. Clemens tries to save Toby by fighting off the dead crewmate that was a goddamn vampire, while Dracula and Captain Elliot knocks on it with Count Dracula, while Captain Elliot knocks on the door as Dracula happens to be there, and he bites Toby to turn him into a vampire, while Anna shoots the door down, in which, how in the fuck did she get the idea of shooting down the door, and the crewmates didn't, as that was bothering me. They tie up the dead crewmate and ask him some questions, and sun rises as it turns him to ash, and eventually dies, as Wojciech finishes him off, and the crewmates talk about what's happening on the ship, and the movie is too long, as Dracula can't get these guys quick enough. I was like, Jesus Christ, just get to the fucking point. Anna wants to come with Clemens to drop Dracula dead, as they have a plan on how to stop him, and they open the casket and see a bunch of dirt as well as nothing, and that was part of it that they saw. But as they open it, they see a cane as well as some bugs in there, as they find a place Dracula sleeps in, and one of the crew members who was the chef was killed on the canoe, and Wojciech reports to Captain Elliot, and the captain says he would have made a great captain, and we learned in the next scene Toby dies. Why the fuck should I care at all? While the truth is, I don't care. I'm angered. They have a funeral service for Toby, and he wakes up to only ash and grabs his father. But does he try to bite him? As that confused me. And Captain Elliot is getting arrested while Clemens chats with Wojciech about the plan that will kill Dracula, but tries to figure out how to kill Dracula. And Clemens tries to make traps for the vampire, and Wojciech helps him making the traps for Dracula, and we get Captain Elliot reading a book as Clemens says they're abandoning ship, as he pulls out a gun and points it at Clemens and Anna when she enters, and she explains how to feel, and Captain Elliot chooses not to shoot them both, as this is very bad dialogue, as the writing this is laughable. They prepare to fight Dracula as fog comes on the ship and flies around as Dracula has wings, and Dracula kills one of the last crewmates, and I don't know, as we're left with Clemens, Anna, and Wojciech, and Dracula knocks down Wojciech, and Wojciech tries to sink the ship, but Dracula got to him, and Captain Elliot shows the cross to Dracula and tries to renounce Dracula, but gets himself killed by Dracula, and Clemens receives a message from Captain Elliot with his last breath, and I'm almost checked out of this movie as it goes too far. Dracula fights Clemens and Anna as he almost wins, but Clemens says to Dracula he does not fear him, as Dracula says one line, and only line in the movie, you will be, which is corny for damn sure, as Clemens and Anna jump off the ship. And we get back to the start of the movie where, all shockingly enough, Dracula doesn't die, while Clemens and Anna are stuck in the middle of the ocean, and Anna dies and turns into ash in the middle of the ocean, and Clemens survives, and I can't tell how the fuck we got out of there, as that was bothering me. And he arrives in London looking for Dracula, and he hears a cane that Dracula is sitting near, and Clemens at the bar and touches him, and Clemens runs out and hunts for the beast, and this climax disgusted me. But how disgusted was I? Let's get to the rating. I'll give this movie a 2.4 out of 10. From the opening on, I knew I was going to have a hard time with the movie, as the dialogue wasn't working for me. And honestly, I hate these fucking characters except for Toby and Huckleberry. And when they killed both of them, the movie gets more alienating, and it's mostly boring me, as this is a boring film that feels like a drag from the get-go. The acting in this is pretty bad, as the cinematography made this movie look ugly, as this is a real ugly looking movie that does not give a shit at all, as it doesn't make me care, as it angered me from start to finish. The movie straight up, like I said, angered me, and it's too long at almost 2 hours, and it didn't get to the point quick enough, as this is a solid non-recommendation in this movie, for this movie, as this may be the worst I've seen with Dracula Untold in the Nosferatu Dracula retrospective series, and I'm disgusted with this movie. It's that bad. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me, and next time we'll be back with 2 different shows, Abigail and the 2023 Ford, the Doug Jones version of Nosferatu, before I do that remake. And until then, I am Dracula, and I will suck your blood.